to kind of gel, how I wound up there. And but I'm leading off into a deeper water and deeper conversation there. That so I'll let you
Well, let's
go
say
back
that.
to it.
Let's put a pin in it.
Yeah.
I'm going to say right there, hand clap. And now we're going to start there. And Rob Phipps, thanks for joining. And
Yeah,
here
my
we
pleasure.
go. We're starting. Absolutely. So to kick this off, let's just start right from the natural thing. Who are you and where do you serve?
Yeah, well, I am profession-wise, I'm a licensed massage therapist. Have been for about 15 years. I think, you know, my primary way of serving was through my job, just kind of meeting people where they're at and helping them through some physical challenges and also sometimes some mental challenges along the way through the body work that I do.
Mm-hmm.
And then most recently, you know, with a battle team in the Iron Council, trying to work with guys to help them get to their goals and execute their vision. And of course, in family with my two daughters, college age, and one who's a little bit older and out of the house at 21. So,
Where do you live?
up in Portland, Maine.
That sounds cold and remote.
Yeah, it is. It is indeed kind of both of those things. Not somewhat remote, though. I mean, I think it's definitely cold, but yeah.
Yeah. It was cold enough for me in October when we got to meet and at main event, and I was good.
Yeah.
didn't
Right.
didn't need any more.
You aren't itching for that February one he was hinting at.
Right. Iron Council is how we got connected. How long have you been in the IC?
Just over a year, actually. It was on my birthday, which was the 29th of November, was the 1 year mark for me. So that was kind of a cool anniversary. But
what made you join the Iron Council on a birthday?
yeah, well, that was, you know, it was one of those things where I had joined I was doing the Order Man thing with Ryan, the 30 Days to Battle Ready program.
Yep.
Was coming out of COVID lockdown, just, you know, in a bad space as far as almost like apathetic. And prior to that, you know, momentum kind of building, getting up to finding Ryan through Warrior Poet Society. And I just noticed that there were a lot of interests that were sort of latent interests that had been my interest years ago, and they started coming to the surface naturally. And, you know, one of them was like firearms and self-defense and all this, and that just kind of snowballed. And I next thing it was Jocko, and next thing it was, and all of a sudden it was John Lovell, Warrior Poet. And then as I looked down in the corner, I saw this guy, and I'm like, who is this Ryan Mickler dude down here? And I happened to click on him. But yeah, that's kind of what led me in. It was just, you know, finding his podcast on there, and really, honestly, I was quite surprised by how much what Ryan was saying was resonating with me. I didn't expect it to. And that was kind of a cool surprise. And I was like, and I didn't even understand what I was like, you know what, I don't know. Something was missing that this seemed to be highlighting for me. And I just started to kind of follow that thread.
You think this isn't to sound like a dick or anything, but do you think that you were lacking in masculinity just by not having the conversation?
Oh, hold on one second. Excuse me. I just lost my, can you still hear me?
I hear you great.
I think I'm losing my AirPods here. Apologize. Okay. Let me, let's see.
How's that now? Yeah, you still sound good. Do you hear me?
Let me see. Okay. Try that now.
Yeah, do you hear me? Okay. I hear you fine.
Yeah, let me turn your volume up.
There's going to be a little bit of a delay with it. We'll see.
Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't realize they were just running it on me. Did you said, was I lacking in masculinity from?
Did you recognize for yourself that you may or may not have been lacking in an intentional conversation of masculinity?
I don't know if I even recognized that consciously then.
This isn't a therapy session either, though. I'm just
yeah. No, I don't think
I asked that because you were tied in with different, let's just say, brands, for that matter. Warrior Poet, Jocko, I want to say Jack Carr, and recognizing logos through things, and it's like, okay, but for this to resonate, for Ryan's message to resonate with you. It's really a fundamental staple. I mean, and I look at things biblically, and it's like the first assignment is sovereignty, and the second assignment is dominion. So, did you recognize in yourself that sovereignty assignment was missing for you?
Yeah, once he started to lay it out in the book, especially, I started to realize the gaps and the holes. And I didn't consciously know what was missing, but as he started to kind of point those things out, I was like, wow. And it was really one of those super uncomfortable experiences where you didn't even realize what the gaps were made of. You knew there were some gaps, things weren't quite feeling and fitting right. But then once he started highlighting them, I was like, it started to just hit and resonate on multiple levels. And yeah, and it was a real calling out, for me as a man and as a father. It was very humbling to sort of have those things pointed out and to recognize, this is true, that I do feel like I need to step up in these areas that I wasn't, and make my life more whole. I remember, just a real quick visual. I had a life coach many years ago, and he had us do this exercise where he had all these different areas of your life, and he did like 10, and it was like relationship, money, all the usual things, and 0 to 10. So it was a wheel. So in the middle there was 0, and then going out to the spokes to 10, and you had to fill them in, and then it was in a circle graph. So say relationship was a 7, money was a 2, this was a 5, this is a 6. So then he said, now imagine this thing. He had you color it in. If this is a wheel, how would this wheel of your life actually turn? What would the ride feel like? And so I feel that was another, like Ryan was kind of highlighting that same sort of truth, was that like there's some serious gaps in that wheel, and consequently my life was bumpy. So
who was the dude that showed you about the wheel?
Let's see, this is going way back. It was a life coach. I can't think of his name right now, but his guy here in Maine that was doing the work here. And yeah, it was a cool experience. I'd never done anything like that. It was way back. So
I found Ryan when he was a guest on Andy Priscilla. And I was already going down the rabbit hole of closing this masculinity gap and owning my life and direction and things. Unfortunately, the guys that I was resonating with, I couldn't afford the $10,000 entry point to get in with them, but I was just consuming all their content, and I began to understand the idea of frameworks and kind of systematic and reverse engineering outcomes in your life personally. And so when I heard him talking about the same things, the conversation was like, well, I can get down with this, and I can get around other guys trying to do the same thing. And it just happened to be when he was starting. So when I signed, as soon as I heard it, found Order of Man Facebook page, saw the sign up for the Iron Council, swiped the card. I mean, all this happened in about 20 minutes because I was like, I could get down with this. And so I was number 16 at that point, and began to put frameworks together, and in the same way that you're just recognizing, is like all of these things were exposing gaps for me. And I was just looking for guys. I had already been accustomed to those gaps, and so I was just curious as to who you got connected with to understand those gaps, and but then getting the chance to work it out shoulder to shoulder with like-minded guys, with a smaller throreshold of pain, not $10,000 entry point. I get it. I can appreciate why there was. I was just not even running in those circles to be able to afford to run with those guys. But I understood it. So it's just a matter of finding guys that I could relate to and do the work with on a shoulder to shoulder level. Maybe I'll get to the $10,000 entry point guys. I don't know. But it's working, just daily kicking the can down the street.
Right. One of the gaps I didn't realize I had, interestingly, was the Band of Brothers concept. Like I really didn't get. I had a story that I was kind of a loner. I didn't really need that, but I it's such a funny thing to really hear Ryan talk about it, and then to feel it resonate and realize, maybe this story I've had is bullshit, that I'm this lone wolf, that I don't need guys in my life, that I don't need and I started to, I was like, and the more I started listening to his podcast, and the more he was talking about, a band of brothers and accountability and having that support, I was like, you know what, I think I need this, or at least I need to try this and see if I'm right. And I was right. And it's kind of one of those times you're really glad to be wrong, it's to find out
Right.
like, yeah, I was full of crap. So.
So you're an old guy that just crept over to the dark side. Welcome.
Thank you. Mark, yeah.
I saw early in my life, there was a time, and it was when I was half my age. So I was about 25, 26. And that was when the lone wolf got me in trouble. I recognized, but I fought it, but I recognized it early on that I tried it, but it just wasn't getting me anywhere. I mean, I literally physically got in trouble trying to be a loner. Is this the first time recognizing the lone wolf aspect, like way late, or did you de-recognize it in your early years?
It kind of had popped up before. It wasn't, I don't think it was as highlighted previously with respect to men versus women or whatever. It was more focused on just other people in my life. And I think I kind of went round and round as I was doing a lot of, deeper work on figuring out who I was and all that, to try to understand, like, well, I didn't want to be motivated to be connecting with people out of a sense of just feeling like I can't be alone, or I can't handle being with myself or my thoughts. So I think, but
do you ever feel like that? Like, because I love being alone. My wife and my kids, like, they want to be feet out of the house. Like, man, I will be a vegetable on the couch, is like just appreciating this space. And then I'll feel like a lump of shit after I'm done with it. But
yeah, I love my alone time. I'm definitely on that spectrum of introversion where I get super recharged from alone time. So yeah, I get it. But it can go to excess too. I'm recognizing that I have a lot more extroverted tendencies or social tendencies than I thought I did. My former girlfriend pointed out to me one day, she called me right out on it. She's like, I said something about being an introvert. She said, "Are you though?" And then she laid out all these things that I'm doing right now. She's like, "You're now leading a team. You're doing these Zoom calls with all these people. You're going on these meetups. You're doing these phone calls. Like, your direct experience that I've seen in your life does not appear that you're such an introvert that you think." So like,
are you a recovering, or are you a closeted introvert?
I think it's just being more honest with like what aspects were natural and what aspects were sort of hiding as like a social anxiety escape hatch. So how much do I really need recharge as being a slight introvert versus like when I was using that as an excuse if there was something that made me uncomfortable that I didn't really want to do. So I think it's finding that balance, getting real with what the motivation is. I think behind things is kind of how I'm wired in general. So,
nice. What's your day job?
Massage therapy. Yeah, I'm doing that for about 15.
How'd you find that?
That was a really interesting thing. I had absolutely no plan or idea to be in that field whatsoever. I was dealing with some really intense back and chest pain. Was going along with anxiety and almost a PTSD kind of thing that I was in about 20 years ago. And I went to a chiropractor, and a great big guy, like 6'6", and he said, "Your back is so tight that I can't safely manipulate it. I'm going to send you down the hallway to Daniel, massage therapist." And I was kind of like, and to be honest, I was kind of like, yeah, I don't know about that. But I took this guy's advice, and I said, well, this isn't working. So I went down anyway. He started working on the muscles, and long story short, the really amazing thing was he found a trigger point in the rhomboids, the muscles right next to the shoulder blades, that referred directly into the front chest wall. And that discovery actually unlinked a positive feedback loop of fear that I was stuck in, where I was equating this center chest pain with a heart problem, even though the medical professionals told me you're fine. Whenever that pain would come up, it would feed the fear cycle. The fear cycle would feed the muscular tension. The anxiety would go up. The anxiety would cause more muscle tension, and round and round we go. There's a wheel spinning again. See this recurring analogy. So when he was able to recreate that pain, he literally broke that positive feedback loop in that moment. And I physically it was proven to me that that was not true. And that started to unwind the entire process, along with a lot of different, spiritual practice and things I was exploring and all that. But that was the big piece. It got me thinking about what I wanted to be doing at that point, and I wasn't really happy in the job I was in. I was doing environmental education and farm education with kids, and it was fulfilling on some level, but it wasn't my thing. And yeah, I just decided to do a crazy pivot, and I was like, I want to do something to work with people one-on-one, to help them directly the way I was helped. Specifically, I was thinking that I could help people that were in a similar spiral that I was in, to try to help them maybe, also, I realized that, my experience of going through that kind of anxiety and that physical anxiety and everything, I would be an asset for those folks, and be able to empathize and relate directly to them. So that was kind of what started me out on that road.
Pretty unmanly career path.
It's funny. I suppose that is the way it's looked at. It's so strange, because to me, like, being on the inside of it.
Do you intentionally what kind of truck do you drive?
It's not a truck.
Oh wow, you're just like you're breaking all the molds. So you don't wear a truck. Do you wear flannel shirts and a Jack Car hat when you're adjusting people and working on people?
No hat, but I wear regular clothes.
No, it's just untypical.
Yeah.
And yet, did you struggle with that? And I actually heard it when you just said that, when he goes, I got to send you down to the massage therapist. Like, well, I don't know about that. Another dude, like,
yeah,
working on me.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you wrestle with that?
I don't anymore. No, I mean, that went
but
by
you
the way
did
ago. But in the beginning, yeah, it was kind of like,
Good.
oh, gee. And then of course, when I was in my class in school, I was the only man out of 24 women. So that was another a very interesting shift.
Easy pickings.
It wasn't such a bad experience, to be honest. But yeah. But that went by the wayside. It's interesting too, being on the inside of the field now. And I worked in physical therapy clinics for about 9 years simultaneously. And the parallels between what we do it's so close to what they do. We have slight differences in our scope of practice, but essentially I'm working on soft tissues with the intent of balancing the forces exerted upon the joints. The physical therapists do exactly the same thing through both the same manual techniques I use, plus they add in resistance exercise, plus they add in stretching, and they add in capsular mobilizations. But it's like, I'm just basically focusing on the soft tissue aspect of balance and rebalance and structural alignment.
I got you.
So, I mean, the whole, and it's like the whole jokes of massage therapy. It's kind of a bummer for those of us that are serious about the work that prostitution worked its way into the field as a front, and caused all the jokes and stuff like that. But it's one of those things we just roll with the jokes and stuff like that. It's whatever. But I know
every industry has them. My favorite one is that the third oldest profession known to man is construction, and it's behind farming and prostitution. And depending on the day of the week is which one you are.
Right. Yeah.
And you'd be surprised. You'll wash a guy's truck if he's got a if it's getting close to payday. So
right.
That's cool. How's the team going? You got a fresh new team.
Yeah, it's going really well. That was a really a cool experience to obviously to be asked to lead one, and then to realize that what I wanted to bring to that was a focus that I thought was very, very important, which is basically focusing on calibration as the bedrock, the underpinning of the whole thing, and then to write the ethos of the team and be very clear that that was my focus. And it's a little bit, again, not surprisingly, given my career and my background, that it's a little bit non-traditional, I think, in the Iron Council. And it's because of that focus, and actually to see it resonate with guys and have them show up and say, actually, that's why I reached out to you, is because I really, really like what this is about. And it was validating to me, because it was sort of like yet another antidote to any sort of imposter syndrome that I might have held on to any last bits of in the Iron Council, just being from a little bit of a different background. Like I don't come from a Christian background. I don't come from, like we talked about, I'm not an engineer or construction guy or a personal trainer or something manly. So
that exactly. And the fact that you give room to so many guys to be in their spaces because you're in your own space is a credit. And so thank you for leading like that for sure and giving the space for it. I came to the team purely on a time schedule. Unapologetic, and it's I say that is that there's room for openness and candor like that to go, this is what I was looking for, here's what these guys are looking for, let's all collaborate and get along for it. We've got guys that are struggling with addictions, we've got guys that are struggling with productivity, it's a myriad of things, and just the idea that everybody's dumped into this melting pot on a 7:30 call Eastern, to get along and see cross comparisons going. I see what you're talking about in your calibration, but I'm needing that same reverse engineering to fix my connection, which was a heavy topic this morning. Or you see what I'm saying? It's just the same fundamentals of reverse engineering and back it out. What do you want? When do you want it? And who do you have to become to get it by then?
Yeah.
I'd say right now that where the team is going, you could almost stop apologizing for it being a new team. There's 6 guys and we're building, and so you don't even have to make a reference to it being a new team. All the guys are fresh. Half of them are fresh. Right. Fresh new guys, friendly new guys, F and G's, but they're still fumbling it around. I love that mix. I think I did. I think the average lifespan of our team is actually about 2 years, only because of my longevity, throwing it over the balance. But really, collectively, it's about 2 years experience. So that's something to be said.
Yeah.
So don't sell it short by any means.
Yeah, I'm starting to see some really cool stuff. I mean, the call prior to this week in particular was, I think, just because it was a little bit more of a traditional call. It wasn't really so freeform and diving into battle plans, but it had a little bit more of a traditional structure, if you want to say that. But I came off of that call and I was really blown away. I was like, wow, there's only 6 of us, but the flow, the people adding value, it really felt like a team. It felt like a real team call. Really cool to see really that. So quickly. I mean, it's only been, we're not even over the 1 month mark of when it launched. We're not even there yet. It was November 15th was call 1. So today was just 2 days shy of 1 month. So I think, I think it's going well. And interesting too, the way the changes in the whole Iron Council system, not to go down that whole rabbit hole, but I think there's going to be
go ahead, please do.
A little bit of a different flow with the new guys coming into a cohort system and having a 60-day window where they're really diving into their battle plans. They're diving into what the Iron Council is all about, which I think is fantastic. And then them coming out on the other side much more all on the same page and really ready to roll. But it's also staggering a little bit of the new guy entry into teams too, which I think is going to be a fascinating thing to watch. And with this team getting going, it's going to be, give us 6 guys a little bit of time to gel a little bit more, and then we're going to get some new guys wanting to come in and visit. I already have a few people wanting to come in, and then a couple of new people integrating, another buffer. So I think that's going to be an interesting opportunity for there to be like integration, new guys coming in, a little bit of time for them to get their bearings before another new element's introduced. So it's a little different, because before you could have had multiple guys dropping in all at once, so
I don't think you're wrong. I think there's an opportunity though that you and a lot of team members are missing, and up and coming team members missing. We've got this 90-day window that we got to wait it out. So we don't get to necessarily get access to the guys. They're not getting handed to us. So the opportunity that's presented there is now we all have to inject into them, not to disrupt the system that they're going through, but
Right.
they're not just going to come, they're not going to come to us because they're instructed not to come to us. And the opportunity there is to go and fight for them. So,
Right.
and not to, don't forget that while we've got 450 some odd guys on teams now, we've also got 600 guys that aren't on teams.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, so just sitting around waiting for new guys to come in and go, hey, can I come in on your call? It means that the team lead's got to step it up and to inject themselves back into the non-team guys. And how they do it, I don't know. I think it's fair game to find out and go and get intentional with it. I mean, if you wrote it on your vision statement, and we talked about it, it's like 4 quadrants aren't enough. You actually need a 5th one to recognize that you're called to this. And if you're not recognizing a call to the position, then hang it up. It's going to be a slow death. But get out there and go hunt those guys down. And one of those ways too is leading locally. How are you leading locally?
To be honest, I don't think I really am. I don't think I really am leading locally.
Wow, that wasn't a setup, was it?
Yeah. Right. I was like, I really can't say that I am, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think, what I haven't thought of is, I haven't thought of it until you brought up what you're doing. I hadn't really thought of it in terms of outside of the Iron Council or outside of a quote unquote meetup that's necessarily through the IC. When I was leading the Northeast Regional Channel, it was a little bit more on my radar as far as like, oh, well, this is what you do in here. And so it kind of got me thinking down that road. Now Rodney's taken it over and he's throwing some in there, which is great. But as far as myself, no, I haven't taken any initiative to do anything locally. So
the region channel is a great starting point for sure. And getting active in there in the individual region channels, they don't come. It's not handed to you. It's something you got to dig in and get intentional about tracking those guys down. But Mighty Networks is a great application to go. Here's guys that are around me. What are you doing in that respect? But what is your region look like on Mighty Networks? How many guys does it show you?
I haven't looked in a couple weeks. I did see a new person just showed up. I think Maine is actually getting a decent amount of guys now. We've got, I think there's at least, I want to say like 8 or 9, maybe more now. Maybe we've added more, but there's quite a few within a couple hours of me in Maine, at least, and then maybe close to New Hampshire as well.
Let's look and find out.
Not counting that really Jay, of course,
Okay, let's go to Iron Council and share that tab. Let's take a look. Here's my profile. Is it there? Nope. How do you find it?
The locator should be in the Foundry.
No, not the locator. The locator isn't working too smoothly. Here we go. Let's go to Discovery.
Oh, and then near me.
Yeah, members near you. That's the perfect way to find out who's in your immediate sphere. Members near you, provided that your location is turned on. But I know for me, that's a good place to start from, all the way, and this is going by distance, all the way out to Tennessee. By distance.
Right. I've done that before. I use that and then kind of like click on them and go in and actually find, see, okay, oh, that's a main guy, and check into that. But that is a good resource.
That's the easiest way to do it. We had some issues when Mighty Networks rebuilt itself at the 1st of December. And so I'm in the process of getting it connected to a physical map, but the resource is still there to be able to go and see who's in your immediate area and take advantage of it. Got Order of Man, just the same. you know, and now it's going to take a matter of organizing something, you personally, or finding an organizer to collaborate with, and then you go help that guy to get something going. But doing it by yourself, that's not the smartest thing to do, because it'll burn you out. But you got to find somebody to do it with, for sure. Well, cool. I mean, the fact that how many would you say that you saw in your immediate area?
Well, like I said, on that function of Mighty Networks, it doesn't really show me who's an immediate and who isn't. So it's just an endless scroll. So it goes, I think it starts in my closest, but there's no delineation of when I start leaving my area. So it starts to fan out, but there's no, on the phone version, there's just a list. So it doesn't give me any.
Members near you, for me, and I go to see more and I click near you, and it goes by distance for me.
Oh, it's funny. Mine doesn't do that on the phone version anyway.
Yeah, try it on your desktop and see what you come up with at a time, and you'll when you can sort it by proximity, it's a better outcome.
Nice. Yeah. Cool.
Very cool. What's in store for Veritas?
I think it's really just a matter of constantly coming back to the real why of the team and making sure that that's really the guiding principle of it in all things. For my part, trying to make sure that I'm looking at the 30,000 foot view and make sure that like the 30, 60, 90-day checkpoints are being really paid attention to, and that at all steps along the way, I want to make sure I really deliver on what I promised with that ethos. And so I really want to make sure that I'm paying attention to, you know, am I asking the questions when guys are sharing their battle plans, when guys are having questions or they're having issues? Am I really helping them do what I said I would do, which is to really kind of drill down and figure out, is this the deepest why? Is this really the issue that's going on? And then can we dig in a little bit deeper and figure out what's happening behind the scenes? And there isn't always that going on. I mean, it's just a good question, I think, to continually come back to. And that's the most important thing, because I think the great thing about the framework and the battle plan, that's all in place. And the trick is just to make sure that I follow through with my goal as a leader, and that's to kind of bring that principle back into everything and make sure that it doesn't get lost. I think it's easy for it to get lost, and I just think that, you know, continually popping back out. An interesting thing, and I think you probably did this too in your journey, but going from XO to BTL is a very different focus, and yet it's overlapping.
In fact, never did that.
Never did it. Yeah, you went right. Okay.
Yeah. And I say that to guys going, man, I don't know what it's like to be an XO because we didn't use them. So somebody just tried it, and then all of a sudden there was somebody helping them out. My experience is I built one team and it was full. I got bored. Ryan, I want to build another team. He's like, okay, cool. Rip the Band-Aid off, go. So to say that there's a progression path to leadership, there's not. If you're following the path, just recognize that you're riding on a path that wasn't a path before. So if you got an idea, jump out there and shoot. I cut you off. I'm sorry, but to say that I didn't do that. I just started building teams. I didn't go on a path because there wasn't a path. We were doing it at a time that there wasn't.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah. Very different time in the IC, I'm sure. So
yeah.
I think I was going to say, when I was XO, it was an interesting blend of the day-to-day, the nitty-gritty, keeping track of people's numbers and all that sort of stuff, and really reinforcing the structure and the balance of those pieces. That's really important. And also being involved in the bigger policy decisions of the team, and managing things that were coming up with guys, you know, with accountability, with their stuff in their personal lives that was interfering with the team performance and that stuff. But then suddenly this position is interesting, because it's like you still have to have your finger on the overall pulse of those things. But it's now I'm realizing the wisdom of having the XO position there is that you can kind of set some of those down. You've got somebody really competent that's really good at getting that stuff, keeping the nuts and bolts running, and that allows me to actually take that view of the overall view and go, okay, so what are we doing? What's the point here? You know, what's the grander point, and are we following through and actually achieving that? Or is my head getting stuck down into the details again, which is tempting, because my comfort zone is the XO position from prior. So it's like, I can start, getting in there and really getting the nitty gritty again, and then lose sight of the bigger. So it's, I think, as a newer
Well, you're a
team,
self-admitted non-tech kind of guy.
right.
So how were you supposed to get that done? What did you do to overcome that?
Well, when I was XO?
No, now. I mean, because I recognize guys that are going, I got this dialed in, I can handle the tech side of it, I could host a call, blah, 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 blah. I was like, well, hold on. Rob's a self-admitted non-tech guy. How's he doing it? What did you do? I know how you did it. I'm setting you up. This is an easy softball here.
Yeah. Well, it was just through doing it, just through getting in there and hosting calls, getting in there and just sitting with things and figuring out how the hell they worked and asking questions.
Yeah.
So, but
I think you did an excellent job of finding somebody to support you in that, and that's Rod.
for sure.
That it just, and I watch your hands-off approach of it, going, Rod's got it. Yeah, and being comfortable with that, and so it's definitely a tip of the hat to you, is like leading well. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Yeah. He was, I was really psyched when he decided to come over from our prior team. It was a huge boost on a number of levels, because Rodney has an interesting skill set that's not, I don't think, is as common. He is an analytical, he has systems and processes for sure, but he also is an extremely deep thinker, and he sees really broadly, which is a really interesting combination. So it's like he gets the ethos, he gets that vision, and he really understands why it matters and how to implement it alongside me. So it's really huge, because he could be the best systems guy in the world, but if he just looked at what I was saying in ethos and be like, yeah, whatever, I don't know what you're talking about, I don't think it'd be as effective. So I'm pretty blessed in that regard, for sure.
Everything that we do leader wise is just recognizing that we're moving men to advantage, and having a love for that. And if those two things can fall into check, then you can get caught up in the systems, you can get caught up into the numbers, and it's a fail safe as long as it's done in love to begin with. But if you forsake that love of going, oh no, they got to do the check-ins, like, oh, hold on, no, you're missing the love, and you're gonna burn out really, really quick. You're gonna burn them out and run them off. So
yeah, that makes sense, because that just becomes about boxes.
Yeah, that's dumb. Real good. Well, man, I think we tapped everything that I wanted to talk about. We'll pull a plug on it and send it out to the guys, and let them know that Veritas is available to be talking to at 7:30 on Monday EST.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Reese. I appreciate it.
Cool. Rob, thanks for leading, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate you too.